Hi, it's Lee from thegamejar.com. I'm here with Karl from Tomb Raider. Karl, thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
No problem.
Could you walk us through a little bit about what you guys are showing on the show floor here at Gamescom?
Yeah, so what we're showing today is a piece of code that we brought out around the E3 time, where we show you the breaking point of our character. Last year, we showed how she managed to survive this situation where she was left for dead, hung upside down, and taught you some of the pillars of smart, resourceful Lara and the physics in the world. Now we take you on an emotional journey. We take you to a place where she's now broken free from that situation. She's been pushed inland. She doesn't know whether she's on her own, whether or not anybody else survived. And she very quickly starts to come across situations that push our character to their limits. One which is the most prevalent in this piece of code is the first kill. It's the moment when Lara has to do something which is completely unthinkable. She never thought she'd ever be in one of these situations. And we bring the player on that emotional roller coaster to see how that unfolds. We also start to introduce you to a little bit more detail in the base camp, such as salvaging and sort of our skills, which is a light RPG feel to the game, but it's all about seeing the character arc, how Lara is going to grow on this island and go from literally being a zero to a hero.
So this Tomb Raider is obviously, it's the Batman Begins, if you like, of the Tomb Raider series. By the time we get to the end of this first game, are we going to be seeing the Lara that we know and love, or is it going to be a case of she's still becoming that woman?
Right. So first, I think we always wanted to be the Lara that we know and love. You know, it's just how we know her is going to be slightly different. As a studio, we're very honored to be a part of the franchise so far with doing Legend Anniversary and Underworlds and Guardian of Light, which is a great project for us and a fun project. But when Underworld finished, that's when we finished that story. Starting this new journey from day one really is setting the tone for our character all the way through the rest of the games in the franchise. We still want the player, though, to finish the game and feel like that was Lara Croft. It's just the difference is that we want to make it culturally relevant to today's style of game and today's style of storytelling. So it won't be as if you finish the game and you feel like, I don't know who this girl is, this is not the Lara I used to know. There'll still be traits and little iconic moments inside of there that we'll want to make sure the player goes, ah, now I was there when she did X, because to me now I feel it's relevant to me. I feel like I've experienced something which I didn't experience in previous Tomb Raiders, and that will stick with me for the rest of the games to come.
I mean, like you sort of hinted at, you've got this massive back catalogue of Tomb Raider games, and all of them play a key part in becoming sort of the essence of Tomb Raider. Looking back, is there any of those games that you've sort of took any particular things from and tried to really bring forward?
Yeah, so every single game has a little nugget, which I'm sure anybody who's a really diehard Tomb Raider fan will play this game and go, I remember, or I see a little essence of that. Something which we've been showing people of late, especially in the demos last year, is how Lara dies. You know, there's some really vicious deaths, and people started looking at it and going, how could you do that to Lara? How could you kill her? And I'm like, well, have you ever played the first Tomb Raider? Have you seen how she dies in that game?
You just spend your time jumping off the highest peak all the time.
Exactly. So for us, there are little things inside the game that you'll look at and go, that feels like, you know, it's something I would have played in Tomb Raider 1. But then all the way through to Guardian of Light, for instance. Guardian of Light had these great challenge tombs, and it was something where off the beaten track you could spend a few minutes trying to figure puzzles out and how things are working. We're looking at Tomb Raider and thinking, how do we bring that into our game now? How do we get the opportunity to re-explore areas and actually have some fun, kind of being challenged on a couple of things off the beaten track? So each game, from the first one all the way up to Guardian of Light, we've looked at, we've replayed over and over and over again, and we've picked certain moments that we feel are going to be sort of familiar yet different inside of this Tomb Raider.
Something else that's become quite familiar, sort of coming up, I suppose, to this Christmas, and certainly at E3, Lara's now wielding one of these.
The sexy bow. Yeah.
They're in fashion. It is very much a symbolic thing more than anything else. Is that sort of why you wanted to give her a bow?
No, I think the key thing for us is when we started reimagining and building up the storyline, we wanted Lara to start with nothing and to progress and go through this story and personal growth and sort of even just physical growth and sort of how she's going to become this action-adventure hero. And we didn't just want to plonk her on an island and say, there's a gun, off you go. She has to go through this foraging, this collecting, this kind of, how do I use the things around me? And even this is the sort of second stage bow. The first bow which we give her is a real makeshift bow. And we sort of, yeah, a piece of wood and some string. And we really looked at that and kind of thought, to us, that sort of signifies the sort of day one scenario. You've gotten the first thing you can get your hands on to try and protect yourself. We started reimagining Tomb Raider in kind of the early 2008s, and now when we look at where it is, yes, there's been Brave, and there's been Katniss, and there's been because what, Hawkeye and the Avengers has been, bows are sexy. All of a sudden we were at the right place at the right time. So I'm delighted that they are, because we absolutely love it. And we love playing with the bow as well in game. You really feel a sense of power and accomplishment when you actually kill that first deer, or you go hunting with it, even as a protective item. So yeah, right now bows are sexy.
Something else that you guys, I suppose, sort of showed off. You showed it very much at last year's E3, but then we haven't seen too much of it since then. Is kind of the quick time events that have gone into the game. They were very quick timey with the big icon on the screen, and you had to mash it. Have you guys sort of moved away from that, or is it more a case of you just decided to sort of stop maybe showing it so much?
No, I think the key thing to say is that as developers, we see the game from start to finish, and we know exactly how the pacing of the game is going. We know how immersed the player needs to be at a set moment in time to feel the situation. When we start showing the game, we showed the first 30 minutes. In that first 30 minutes, we're trying to bring the player deep into the world at a very quick pace. You don't want to spend an hour trying to figure out what's going on. You want the player to be there in amongst it quickly. As a result of that, we use QuickTime events to bring the player that deep. As you play through the next hour and the next 2 hours and so on, you see that the use of QuickTime events comes back down to a more natural sway. Inside of a game, QuickTime events, when used correctly, are a very powerful tool. So I think when people witness the sort of beginning of the game, they felt like that's a lot. But when you play the game from start to finish, you feel like that was the right amount for you to tell me what I needed to know and immerse me into that world deep enough that I felt relevant and motivated for the rest of the game.
Karl from Tomb Raider, thank you very much. I'm Lee from the Game Jar. That's your lot. Thanks for coming.